Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the next episode of the Settler's Path podcast about WildStar. With me, I have my three favorite WildStar people. Or two, and then I just met Vandy. And I don't know if he's frozen or not.
No, I'm not frozen.
Oh, okay, good. Or else I'd tell you to let it go. Get it? Nobody?
Oh, God.
No.
We don't have to build a snowman.
Okay, good. All right. So with me is Raitha.
Hi.
Sam.
Hello.
Bandy.
Yo,
How you guys doing this evening?
Really good.
not bad.
A lot's happened since we've last cast in WildStar. Good stuff.
Lots of good stuff. We had our first raid this last Saturday. It went really well.
I know I saw everybody in the channel. I was like, wow, I want to be in there.
Yeah, we killed our first raid boss on Monday. We got
Yep.
some loot.
Very nice. Purple loots.
Yep, purple loots.
Purple loots. Purple loots is a good thing. Alrighty, so what have you guys been up to since we last cast? Besides downing bosses, getting purple loots, is that basically it?
And rating. We just got into rating, like Vandy said. So we're super excited about all the possibilities and the new content and just being able to tackle new things. It's been a lot of fun.
How about you, Sam?
Yep. Yeah. Well, I've been actually playing some alts. Once you get to the end game of any game, you kind of slow down in your main. You get to a point where progression is coming a little bit slower. So I've taken this opportunity to work on some alts and kind of go back through the story, do some quests I hadn't done, like the blimp quest, which anybody in TeamSpeak will remember my cursing at. Just different things that I hadn't done on my first run through the game because I was kind of pushing it pretty hard.
Yeah, you're just going through it fast because you're like, okay, well, I need to get to the end, start running your adventures, your dungeons. Vandy, we didn't talk to you last time. You weren't on the cast, but now you are. What have you been doing the past 3 weeks?
Oh, I've been doing a lot the past 3 weeks, running the attunement nights for the guild, trying to get lots of people attuned. So far, we've got a total of 31 people past the dungeon step of attunement and onto genetic archives. And with today's change, potentially quite a few more have gone through now.
Okay. Well, since you introduced that topic, let's go to that one first about attunement changes.
So
Explain
yeah, in the patch today, they changed the requirements for the dungeon attunement from silver medals to bronze medals, which means that you no longer need to clear the dungeons in a specific amount of time. So long as you can physically kill the final boss of every dungeon, you can progress to the next step of attunement.
And that's what we were talking about, 3 weeks ago?
Yep.
We were like, if they just removed the time requirement, that would be the best thing.
Yeah, and the neatest thing about this, too, is that if you've previously gone through any of the dungeons, you get an achievement at the end. So if you bronzed it in the past, that now counts toward your attunement. That was clarified today by one of the CRBs.
Jen Gordy, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did that change make it in?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, so you could log in today and all of a sudden you're attuned?
No, I think it's more of a process. But if
Yeah.
you're on the dungeon step and you've done a
Okay, yeah, that's what I meant. If you were on
Right.
that step where you needed to get your silvers but you've gotten your bronze, you would be attuned?
Well, you'd be on the world boss step, and then
Oh,
the
okay.
same thing with the world bosses is those are also retroactive now. So if you have the achievement for those, but unfortunately not all of them had an achievement in the past. So
Okay. So, how does this affect you guys?
Well, it makes it a lot easier for us to get people past the attunement steps and starting into raiding. So it's probably really going to help us bolster our raid force.
I mean, eventually we'd like to run 220-man teams because in the future we're going to be running 40-man. So right now we have one 20-man going, and with so many people being able to get through their attunement so much more easily, then our goal is to have 220-man teams that we can eventually combine into a 140-man.
That's the goal, right? Or
That's
why
the
they
goal.
did it. They did the 20s first, and then you had to have 2 raid groups to get to the 40. But what are it mentions, or we have here the details of the Genesis Key Attunement. Is this all basically the same, besides the bronze and the world boss achievement?
Well, yeah, there's the bronze, the world boss achievement, and they lowered the amount of partial data fragments or partial patterns. That's what they are, partial patterns required to get from the genetic archive step to the datascape step. So from the 20-man to the 40-man.
Okay.
They lowered it from 300 to 100. So
That's
you need a
actually
lot
pretty
less.
significant too. Yeah. Because I'm one that is constantly going in the dungeons and adventures and helping people out. And I think I'm just shy of 100 now. So if we were potentially combining 2 raids right now to go into that, I wouldn't have enough to get in. So that was really significant in getting it to the 40-man step quicker.
Okay. So not only is it easier from when you're first trying to get into raiding, now it's easier to get from raid to raid. Now here's a random question for me. Isn't there another raid coming?
2 more.
2 more
Yep.
raids. Okay, and where do they lie between the 2 raids right now?
Well, the first one is more of an event than a raid, and we've talked about that before. It's kind of like a room with a council type fight where you have various series of bots.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And that one still does not have an attunement process on the PTR, and it still appears to be not really a gateway raid, but the loot itself that drops is equal to the first level of genetic archives in power level, but the stat distribution is a lot different. Vandy and I have a lot of theory crafting conversations on at what point are other stats going to become useful, and it looks like they've itemized the new raid a lot differently than the old raid content. So the itemization is a little different. So what you're going to find is you go into the first floor of GA, you get some loot. You go into these bosses in a box fights, and you get some different loot. They're the same power level, meaning they're both going to be 2495 or whatever, or 2800, but their actual stats are going to be different. So they can be useful in different types of builds. And that's kind of where their thought process are going there with the next 2 raids anyway. And as Boots and Gene said, yeah, they're doing more bosses in a box type, where you think Onyxia from World of Warcraft, or Vox from EQ.
Might kill 2 things, and then all of a sudden you're at the raid boss. And
yeah, and it's a simple fight. Everybody gets loot. It's quick. They're just more self-contained.
Okay, that sounds nice though. Like, you need those little raids, right? Or would you consider them little, or are there a lot of bosses in them?
Well, I mean, they're little in the fact that they're contained. Mm-hmm. So, you go into genetic archives and you have what they term base pop, but Vandy and I have both said that that's not going to catch on. People still call it trash, right? So you have a bunch of trash mobs. You fight through all these different hallways. You get to a boss. You fight the mini boss. You kill more base pop. You get to another boss. That's a traditional dungeon run. A boss in a box is more of you go through a portal. You've got some sentinels guarding one room. You go into the room, and then you have a series of encounters in that room, whether it's a council type fight, whether it's a single giant dragon in the middle of the room. It's a self-contained single jump. You jump in, you get it, you're done for the night, you go on. And that's more of what they're heading towards, or at least the next 2 raids are more like that.
Okay. But will there be multiple bosses within them? Like, one night you go in, it's one boss. Another night you go in, it's another boss. Like, it's a...
The next raid they're coming out with does not have that. The next raid is just a council type fight. It's the same robots every time.
Okay.
I think the main robot is the same every time. Then he has 4 additional robots which spawn, which might be different. I don't know. Right now it's on the PTR, so it's not really very well vetted. The next raid after that, I don't really have much information on that. I'm sure somebody else has more.
Okay. But this raid could basically be the same thing to help people get more gear faster? or just an easy something for everybody to jump into and then down the boss. And
Yeah, it's still not easy.
not easy, but
It's WildStar easy, I guess you could call it, right?
WildStar.
It's essentially,
It's
as far as I
hardcore.
understand, it, it's meant to be on the same level as the dungeon bosses. So the final bosses of each of the dungeons it's supposed to just be a dungeon boss that takes multiple teams to kill.
Okay, cool. All right. So along with being geared for raids and stuff, they talked about the amp changes. Explain the amp changes.
We're really excited. So when everybody logged on today, the first thing that everybody did was, if you have reputation with certain factions, you can purchase either an amp or an ability point. So for those of us that already have our maxed out reputation, we went around all of our vendors and we're getting our amp and ability points. What that allows us basically to do is to be able to basically better our characters so we can go into these raids and be more effective, really. And in the past, it was a little hard to get these amp and ability points. You had to save so many elder gems, and it was a very rare world drop, or it would come out of a PvP bag, but it was rare. So now we're all running around like chickens with their head cuts off, trying to get like all of the amps where they are.
And keep in mind, this is continuing their overall loot policy. At the very beginning of WildStar, multiple devs stated many, many times that the Elder Gem system was not the end game currency. It was a currency that was to be used if you had no other choice. You've run Genetic Archives, you've killed X89 32 times, and you still can't get that one pair of boots to drop. So you go buy them. You have a secondary currency that you can go buy them with. It was never designed to be the sole way to get anything. At the beginning of the game, the only way to get amps and skill points were with a 0.0001% chance drop, or you buy them, and it costs about 3.5 to 4 weeks worth of Elder points per point. To put that in perspective, you can get 10 more amp points and 7 more ability points. So at 3 to 4 weeks per point, you're looking at over a year to max out your character at max level. So they've given us additional ways. Keep in mind, those additional ways, the only reason we get them today is because we've been working on our reputation for 2 months now, 2 or 3 months. New characters and people who are just starting the game, they still have some, I don't want to say grinding, but they still have a process to go through. They still have to raise their rep. And what they've done is you get a couple of different ways. The first is your path. So if you're a soldier, you get an amp point, or I'm sorry, any path. But just by raising your path level, you get an amp point at 15 and a skill point at 30. So you get one of each. Then you're looking at your reputations. Well, those reputations are only from the daily zones. So you go into a zone that has daily quests, that's going to have either an amp or a skill point, depending on which one it is. And then you have PvP. With PvP, you can get 2 more amps, and you can get 1 more skill point from the PvP. So you see there's many ways to do it, but it's not you just walk up to a vendor and you buy it. You have to still gain something, whether it's reputation, whether it's PvP currency, whether it's a path level. I mean, for instance, I had to level my path today because I think I was like level 18 in my path because I just had never done it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to level my path. I spent all morning just leveling my path up to 30 to get both points. Yeah, we're not even going to talk about what Kazan just said, the gold dungeons. You can also get amps and skill points from golding dungeons.
Okay. We were just talking about they needed to lower silver and bronze and silver.
Gold dungeons are rough, man. To get a gold dungeon run, you have to complete every challenge. Every member of the party has to complete every challenge. You have to kill every boss. You have to do it within the silver time limit. And I believe some people are saying that you can't die either. Not a single death. So once we're about ready for Phage Council,
once you're raid geared, now you can go back to your dungeons.
Right. So what they've effectively done is they've given us some more carrots. You can get your skills and amp points from other places. It's still going to be, again, I don't like using the word grind. It's still going to be a process. You don't just hit level 50, go buy them. You hit level 50, then you do your dailies for a couple of weeks. Then you grind some PvP for a couple of weeks, and then you buy your points. So That's effectively what they've done. Very positive change, though.
Yeah. Very good. But it's all part of almost the same, or you were mentioning like the same ongoing process of fixing the game, I guess you could say.
Right. It's very similar to any other game that any of us have played once EverQuest ended, right? I mean, every game we've played, it started out and it just had some wonky things. Even WoW did. I mean, WoW had some wonky things at the beginning. You're like, what?
Yeah. But none of us knew MMOs,
Right.
or most of us didn't know MMOs or how things or builds or who cared. Like, it was just a game.
Right. So I mean, just remember in WoW the first day you went to mine and you had to hit a mining node like 18 times to get it to tap out, and then somebody could come and steal it from you. Just weird stuff like that, which they've changed and they've grown. WildStar is doing that as well, and every day they're growing. Every patch you see, they're growing. They're making mistakes, but they're also learning from some of those mistakes, and they're doing some things better every time they patch. We won't talk about medics, because that's a sore subject, what they did to medics today. But they're learning from it, and they're going to fix that tonight, hopefully. And and they're progressing. I would say every 2-3 patches, we're seeing some positive improvement. And even if it's not a direct positive, we're seeing them talk about what's coming soon and how more positive improvements are coming. The itemization changes, the flat, what they're doing to assault power, how they're changing rune slots. All of this is very positive, and it is just part of the learning experience of a new MMO.
Well, it's good. It's good stuff. But speaking of changes, something would you say it's been broken since launch PvP?
Well, no, in the beginning it wasn't really
Like Sam's face.
I know. He doesn't like to talk about it. But PvP, honestly, in the beginning it was fun, and then they changed a bunch of stuff, and it was really not even something anybody wanted to play. But today, what's interesting is, along with the amp points and the ability to be able to PvP and get amps and your ability points, people are starting to PvP heavily. And when this patch hit, it seems that they have done two things that I noticed right away. Number one, they adjusted the way the healing efficiency is calculated for PvP instances, which means that healers are more viable in PvP now. And the second thing is they reduced how much damage that you do. So it was kind of an outset on things. So yeah, it was really exciting.
Cool.
Let me clarify for all those watching it.
I was like, explain this.
It's not that I don't like talking about PvP. It's that PvP, for most grievance organizations, including ours, is something of a thing we keep trying to get into, and things just fall apart. Not sure if how many people know that are watching or that are here. The guild leadership. I just took over guild leadership of the Exile Guild. And I was handed the warlord problem. So we're still trying to get a warlord. Got a couple people that expressed interest. We just don't have a lot of PvP interest right now. We got a lot of people who'd like to PvP, but we don't have like this dedicated core that PvPs every day that really just wants to get into war plots, that just wants to get into all this stuff. So it has been a bumpy road for us at the very beginning. And we're hoping that changes, because all of us do enjoy banging some heads in PvP. This is just tougher to get started than raiding or any other content. So whenever we talk about PvP, I kind of cringe a little bit, because there's been a bumpy start for us.
It's a little sore spot.
Yeah.
A little sore spot. Okay. But will the changes help?
I think so.
Yes.
I mean, today, I'm not a huge PvPer. I'm more like a casual PvPer. But even today, I've had a lot of fun. Kyosha, I see all of you. But today it was just great going to the battlegrounds and seeing people start healing again, and it actually helping. And although the damage I do is reduced, it just seemed to even it out. I played 5 matches, won 3. I mean, I think that's very telling about how PvP is kind of balancing out and changing.
Yeah, the problem in the past with PvP was the gear imbalances, and they've done a lot of things in the last couple of weeks to sort of fix that. I think it was about 2 weeks ago they changed the scaling of the gear, so there's only an 8% stat difference between the blue PvP gear that you get as soon as you hit level 50, if you can get enough prestige to buy it, and the 1800 PvP gear. So the PvP power difference between them isn't as large as it used to be, which makes it a little bit less imbalancing. Really helps.
Okay.
And of course, the other reason I don't like PvP is because they always put their peanut butter in my PvE chocolate.
But then you get a Reese cup.
Yep.
And that's really good.
Yep. He keeps talking about it, and all I think about is a Reese's cup.
I know.
Sounds
Fine,
good.
they keep putting their peanut butter on my chicken sandwich. Is that better?
Yes, it's much better.
I don't know. I've never tried peanut butter on a chicken sandwich, so we will see. Okay, so the biggest news that I think even people outside of WildStar heard about, the Mega Server.
So excited!
People are like, yay! Other people are like, oh.
No, it's a great move. I think. Raitha agrees with me too. As far as I can tell, it's a fantastic move. They're getting away from the whole, oh my God, servers are merging, right? Because that's the death knell of any MMO. Oh God, servers are merging. The game is ending. Mm-hmm. So they're getting away from that by changing the entire architecture and infrastructure. Those are two words that Vandy taught me because I really don't know what that means. They're changing the whole architecture.
They're just building terms.
Right. So, they're getting away from having to merge servers by going to a mega server architecture, which they say they had planned from the very beginning. It's been popular. It's been successful. I think it's going to be great. It's going to get us more recruits. I mean, we've already gotten a couple of people, if I'm not mistaken, that have come from we got an RPer who applied from the role-playing realm. Okay. So we've actually got some good recruits. We're going to get more recruits. We have shown that we're a stable and upwardly mobile guild, and we are, as Sol put it, we are steady core. You think of
growing. all the different guilds that may have others that have left, but then there are those few in the other guilds that are like, well, we still want to play WildStar. Like we like WildStar. They got somewhere to go.
Yeah, and right now, with the free realm transfer, that's where we're getting some of those from before mega servers happen.
Yeah, because you can make it happen now instead of having to wait.
Yeah, and
I need to wait for this.
Yeah, and one of the major things I think that's been negative on the forums is the RPers are losing their realm because they're going to combine all the PV realms into one. But they're making an RP channel for those guys so that they can have their own separate channel. Anybody would be able to join that, by the way. And the second thing is that, while Grievance is not traditionally an RP by any means guild, we are very, very accepting of anybody who chooses to do that. So we put it out there that, hey guys, we're not an RP guild, but we are a PvE and very family friendly guild that happens to raid. So we would be more than happy to have you with us. And I just wanted to throw that out there because I know it's a big concern whether or not they're going to be welcome on this big, huge mega server. And I hear what they're saying because I was an RPer for 6 years. My husband is an RPer.
Good job, Sam.
We ended up in Grievance because we love Grievance. But, the thing is that, we're so open and welcoming to other avenues of gaming that we'd be happy to have them. So come on over.
Awesome. So, a personal question, Sam.
Yes.
Would you be willing to RP for if you had enough RP players come to Grievance?
Yes, absolutely. It's.
I wouldn't even know where to start RPing with WildStar, right? Like, it's not like a fantasy setting where you say certain things a certain way. It's like WildStar, like
I don't know,
like Han Solo or something. Or
but if there is a group of people in Grievance who want to do that, we would be accepting. We would help them. I would even join in. I mean, you would have to teach me, and I'm sure I would be really awkward at it. But I would try it. I'd try anything that the guild wants to do. As the guild gets into different things, I'd like to jump into it and see what it's like. But again, we'd have to have a group of people who want to do that. Just like PvP, just like everything else we do. If we have a group of people who want to play in a certain style, we're not only going to accept that, but we're going to try to support it as best we can. And that's really what we're about.
Yeah, I think Sam should probably just role play a big Granok biker who just sits there and smokes cigars and drinks whiskey.
Hunt slop.
Yeah, I can do that. I think I'm good for that. I could accomplish that.
You could totally hunt lop. Oh.
You would do that, but then you'd be someone who can kick ass. I think so.
As long as I'm hunting lop.
As long as you're hunting lop, okay.
See, you'll notice every once in a while there's a little lop that appears in the corner of Vandy's window here.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Yosha. She's
I
our
noticed
guild
that.
mascot, actually.
The guild
So,
mascot. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Is
our
she
guild
a G?
mascot.
Is she just like...
Yeah. Look, there she is.
there
That's
she
our
is.
guild mascot,
Yay.
Kyosha. Oh.
So yes. And hello, Anris.
Hello.
Hello. But okay.
What do you mean by RP-friendly character actions? What does that mean? I don't know what it means, so can somebody explain that?
RP friendly character actions. I'm not quite sure what he's referring to, but RPers do have a specific way of doing different things. So, when we say something in say, it's my character and how they would react. How Raitha, my Orin, and she'd have a whole backstory, and then what she would say, her, not me. So, in essence, we build a whole backstory to the character that we've created and play with.
Okay.
So their fear is that when they go around and they're talking to each other, that people are going to grief them. But what they need to realize is I played on an RP server, like I said, for 6 years in World of Warcraft. We had griefers on our RP servers. They would come over for family or whatever reason, or they didn't realize they were on an RP server. So whatever you're going to go for, you're going to have that griefing. But we're not a guild that is going to do that. As a guild, we are very accepting of all people. So,
Yeah.
Why
would you want to ruin someone's fun, right? Or what they
Yeah.
enjoy doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Be like someone coming and dancing in the middle of your raid. No one dances during a raid, right?
There's no fun in raids. This isn't the time for
No
fun.
dancing. Even in the game I play, it's not like we're dancing on a ship doing PvP. Who would do such a thing?
We've seen your videos.
What? Okay. So anyways, also surnames. I don't know why surnames weren't in the first place. I love surnames. It reminds me of EverQuest when you had to get like level 20. Or I forget what level you had to get to before you got your last name.
That's
and
right. That's right.
You're like, yes, I got my last name. And I remember you had to, you would like design your name after titles and stuff. And it was awesome. Good stuff.
Yeah, there's a whole thing about that too. I was reading some Q&A on the WildStar forums about the surnames, and there's a lot of conflicting, things, positive and negative, that people are thinking. But the way the CRBs have decided that this is going to work is you have to have a surname, period. You cannot not have a surname. If you want to change, like, let's say my name is Raitha and I want to have, Raitha be my last name and then have a first name, they did say that they're looking into doing that. So you could have your character name as your last name and then put your first name. But you don't have to do that. But you do have to have two names. It's going to have to be that way. And I don't think they're going to require you to change. Like, my name's Raitha and I want to have a surname as the last name. They're not going to make me change my Raitha.
Yeah, just as long as your last name doesn't match someone else's name, whoever is named Raitha.
Right.
Yeah.
But then it's coming up with the last name.
Yeah,
Raitha
that's
doesn't have a
honestly
last
my
name.
biggest problem.
She's never had a last name.
Just do the typical, you're going to be Athyre.
Yeah.
Yep. Just do it backwards.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Backwards.
That's my hardest part with it, is coming up with a last name. I mean, yeah.
Hunter of Lops.
I wouldn't. I can't.
Samson Lop Hunter.
I can't even say Vandy's name forwards. I wouldn't want to
None
say
of us
it
can.
backwards. Yeah, it's okay.
It's Vandesdelca.
Oh,
Yeah.
it gets even better when you add in his actual, because it's a character from a video game. So when you add in his actual last name, it's Vandesdelca Mustofende.
Who is this? His we're talking about. It's you.
You have to-
It's you. You are him now. Okay. the Muffin Man, he posted
Do you know
about
the
something.
Muffin Man?
I don't know the Muffin Man, but apparently
Lives on Drury Lane.
someone knows the Muffin Man. Give me a quick rundown of what the Muffin Man posted about upcoming war plot changes.
Well, this was also in a Q&A, which is really, really interesting. It got tweeted out, and I was able to pull it off of his Q&A on the WildStar forums. CRB, the Muffin Man, posted comments in the WildStar section answering people's questions about the upcoming changes to war plots. War plots is such a cool concept. It has been from the beginning. You take 40 people, and you make your own little, housing area only for PvP, and you go fight another 40 people who have also created their own little thing. And you just go and you battle each other.
And now is it 40 people?
Well, no, they're going to reduce it because the logistics of getting 40 people together and then having another 40 people queue up at the same time, 80 people queuing and then going at each other is not always.
It doesn't happen all the time. Oh.
No, so they're going to change it. And some of the cool things they're doing is, number one, they're going to resize the team to 30.
Okay.
Which is nice. And then there's going to be more queuing options for the war plots. So you're going to be able to queue up as a merc.
Mercenary.
Okay, so you can get added to just some other war, or you can just be like a solo player and then you'll get added to a group.
Essentially, yes. So if another war party has 20 people, for instance, in their war party and they're in the queue, you could have 10 people who sign up as mercenaries just come in and join that party to fill them out.
Okay. That sounds like it solves it's getting smaller team sizes, and then they're going to have ability to have other people fill in maybe spots that are missing, right? So hopefully this will get more people queuing up for these.
Yeah, and they're also adding in the fact that if there are no people in war parties queued up, that they can form entire teams of mercenaries.
We don't know each other, but here we go. We're not talking. We're not organized. And that's that's who the guild wants to go up against, right? Because then you just destroy them.
Yeah, but it's great because, I know ever since I've been with Grievance, we love to have all different sorts of events. And the one thing that we've always wanted to do was war plots. So what I'm really excited about in the future for Grievance WildStar is to be able to really tackle the PvP and getting into war plots and just having that avenue for all of our players, because we have 250 active accounts. Active meaning they've logged on within the past 3 weeks. So that is how many people. We have plenty of people who want to raid, want to PvP. We have adventure nights, Sunday nights. I'm plugging Grievance WildStar, by the way. We're always accepting applications. So, that's just kind of, what we want to do. So the future for us is just going to be amazing, especially with these new changes. Really excited.
Because now it just seems like everything's getting more accessible or easier to get into, or it's being fixed. And so maybe they were like this with war plots. It might have been hard to get into war plots, but now it's going to be easier. Or getting into dungeons or raids was harder, and now it's going to get a little easier. And so,
well,
I'd
be careful with using the word easy.
Okay, I knew you were going to come in there, Sam.
We still have groups of people who can't get through the dungeons. Period. And they're still working on it. It's a learning experience. Mm-hmm. You know me. I mean, we even named the cast one night Law of the Process. I'm a huge fan of what I call the Law of the Process. It works in my martial arts. It works in life. It works in video games. There's a process with everything. You don't just walk into something being super good at it unless you're like a virtuoso or whatever they call those kids who can play instruments, right? Most people don't have that. So you learn and you grow. We've still got groups that not whole groups. We've got people who are struggling getting through the dungeon itself just on bronze. Because some of these fights are tough, and they, if you keep banging your head against it, eventually you realize you've spent an hour and a half, 2 hours on the same dungeon. People start to drop out. It's tough to get the things done, but you've learned a lot. And then you'll get through the dungeon at one point, and everything will click. You'll learn it, and then you'll be able to do it. So I wouldn't say that it's easy. It is WildStar. Let's call it WildStar.
Let's
easy.
say more accessible.
I like that.
More
accessible.
accessible.
Which I love.
There you go. Yes. So
Because there are some, like to back him up, there are some bosses, like the second boss of KV and Storm Talon himself, that are still very difficult for people to get through. So they will get stuck on that and not be able to finish the entire instance because of that boss. You go and you could beat Storm Talon, but then you get to the second boss of KV and people are literally pulling out their hair. I know Sam's one of them. He hates that instance with a passion because there's so much RNG that happens in
Sam,
there.
you're pulling out your hair?
Yes, his beard. His beard.
Oh, his beard. Yeah, look at.
He did this to me.
You should have seen his afro before WildStar launched. I know.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it makes it a lot more accessible, and with the fact that they're going to combine all the servers together. I know Sam and I have talked about this before. We're expecting the WildStar Grievance Guild to max out, because we only had the people that are on our server. Once we combine all these people into one, we have such great family guild. Grievances just been around for 15 years.
Great core, right?
Great core of officers. This guild is stable, and it is steady core, and it's wonderful to be in. So when people see this and that we're everywhere, you can't go into Thade without seeing 20 grievance members that are there, and they'll all tell you the same thing. They love being in the guild, and we're progressing, and it's gonna be exciting times.
Okay, and so we'll be back next week because we missed last week. Part of my fault. But you guys have been raiding.
We have been raiding, and we will continue to be raiding. We have another raid this Saturday and another one next Monday.
Okay, and so maybe that's what we can talk about next week is what you guys think about raiding. Maybe more people will be in it now, right? What?
Oh.
I said our first X89 kill. That's what we'll talk about next week, because he's going down this week.
All right. There
Yeah.
we go. So instead of one fight, we'll talk about two.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll talk about all of our spectacular failures.
We got a whole list of those now.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to put out the changes that have happened within the guild, so that people know. Our guild leader, Soul Guardian, had to step down due to personal reasons. He will be missed. He was a great guy, class act. Really got us going strong. He had to step, exactly, yes, big hearts, hugs and kisses. He did have to step down due to personal reasons. There was no problem there. He just had some personal reasons. They have asked me to step up as the guild leader, and I have asked Raitha to be my XO. She gracefully accepted that. Taking over the recruiting officer is Beretta, who was the recruiting officer for the Dominion side until they got absorbed by us. So the officer core has rotated around a little bit, but is still strong. And as Raitha said, this guild is in no danger. We are super strong, super steady. We're moving forward, and everything's looking really positive for us right now.
Awesome. So we'll talk about all those positive things by killing, what's the next boss?
Other than the egg boss or the bridge boss, yeah.
We can't get past it.
Okay. After the egg boss and the bridge boss, was it X89?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So next week, look forward to this cast. Same time, 6 or 5 p.m. Pacific or 7 Central. And we'll be talking about grievances, rating, and their experiences. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks, Raitha. Thanks, blah, 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 blah. And thanks, Sam. All right, and we'll be back next week, guys. Thanks for watching.